We're looking at the national delegate update. Sort of, what are the current standings that we're looking at coming out of Iowa so far, at least?
Well, Sanders has moved ahead, um, or at least expanded his lead. I think he had the lead after New Hampshire. But again, one thing really to look at here is just how few delegates we're actually talking about. For all the attention that is focused on these early states, this is about momentum, this is about fundraising, this is about setting narratives. Well, we are actually counting delegates, and they all count in the end. The ones you win in February count as much as you win on Super Tuesday or as late as June, especially in a close contest. But we're just not talking large numbers at this point. There'll be far more. We're going to have a far different picture of this particular metric, in 9 or 10 days here once we start to see these large Super Tuesday states like California, which we actually won't see because it will take them weeks to actually count. We'll have some sense of it, but not the complete picture. Certainly, Texas is a large place where you're going to see a lot of votes. And something to watch on Super Tuesday night coming out of Texas is they don't do it by congressional district. They award their delegates by state Senate districts. So that's going to be a little twist.
Do you want to, hey
Um,
Drew? Do you want to explain to people why everyone's going to have different delegate counts when we wake up on Wednesday, and why it's so like, why we're teaming up with UVA and why ours is going to be the most accurate, or we think it'll be?
Well, a couple of reasons. One, everybody's going to collect this a little differently, and they will have a projection threshold that's a little different. Our advantage is we are the only people that really work with precinct data. And if a state has this broken up into, you have a congressional district that has seven counties in it, you have to be able to build that district, especially if the counties are split among multiple congressional districts, or a county like, say, Los Angeles County has 10 to 12 districts within it. You simply can't look at the top line county number and assume that each county, just because they got whatever percentage across the county, got that same percentage across the congressional districts as well. So you have to be able to back it out and rebuild those and allocate the votes, and therefore allocate the delegates correctly. And that's something we're doing. And that's part of why we partner with the folks at UVA Center for Politics. There's an expertise between our two organizations in doing that. And that's why you're going to see probably some different counts going forward. The ones so far have been pretty clean. The two caucus states, they eventually tell us what the numbers are. New Hampshire is quite easy because it's just two districts. So that's, pretty straightforward. But from here on out, it really does become your ability to get the right kind of votes and put them in the right places. And that's something that's going to start showing how organizations are separating themselves from each other. And we're really confident and excited about our ability to do that and do it as quickly as possible.
So, Scott, here's a question. If I'm one of these campaigns looking at these national delegate tracking, what am I thinking? What am I saying to the candidate? Because at the end of the day, I mean, if we look at the 2016 vote share, we have less than 2% of the overall Democratic primary electorate has gone to the caucus or gone to a primary so far. And as we're looking at the graphic on the screen, there are 3,800 delegates remaining, and Sanders has a lead of 15. So, I mean, is the media overhyping Sanders' commanding lead? What are some of like the Buttigieg or Biden or Warren campaigns thinking right now in terms of the state of the race?
Well, I imagine those campaigns are spending a decent amount of money on internal modeling and polling. And so, while, yes, this is what the scoreboard says, they all have a pretty good idea what the scoreboard's going to say when they wake up on Wednesday. And when they wake up on Wednesday, it's probably going to look roughly like this, but with hundreds of more votes. In other words, this is probably what the split's going to look like, maybe even a little bit worse for Pete and Biden and Warren and Klobuchar in relation to Sanders. The only difference is 45% of the votes will be off the table. I imagine what everyone's saying to themselves, kind of like what we were saying to ourselves with Rubio 4 years ago, is we knew we weren't going to win, but we wanted to make sure, we wanted to deny, other people a win. So all these camps are thinking now, look, we know Bernie Sanders is going to have the most. Where can we put our resources? Where can we spend our time so that he doesn't get to the magic 1991? and how do we get as close as possible so we can make our case at a convention. And so when you take a step back and you say that's what they're thinking, that's crazy, right? Like, that's absolutely, we're 9 days away from that happening. I guess there could be a surprise on Super Tuesday and Biden or Buttigieg or Warren could turn it around, but we'll talk about it during State of the Race. Like this, we're going to have a very clear picture. We're going to have 40% of the vote in, 45% of the vote in about 10 days from now.